Before this episode of the Final Word podcast, a quick update from our friends at Brick Lane Brewing. Brick Lane has loved the feedback from Final Word listeners. They're getting messages online and in person at their Melbourne tap room. Did you know they had a Melbourne tap room? It's at the Queen Vic Market. Details at bricklanebrewing.com. Thanks for supporting our sponsor and for supporting the show. Adam and Jeff, and in some instances, Daniel Norcross, love doing the show, and your support of the show and of Brick Lane Brewing makes it all possible. And remember, you can order all of your Brick Lane favorites at bricklanebrewing.com. It's a super easy way to get your hands on all of the various brews. Now, let's say you're listening to this and you're thinking, I love the pod. I love Adam and Jeff. I even love Daniel Norcross. But you don't drink. How about this? The best hoodie in the world is available in the merch section of the website. The Brick Lane hoodie has been my go-to in Melbourne for the last 12 months. It's roomy, it's comfy, and it's warm. It's perfect. And if you're thinking, don't need warm right now, things are starting to heat up where I am, well, there are plenty of t-shirts to choose from. The point of this is that there are plenty of ways to support the Final Word in Brick Lane Brewing. Just by listening to this, you're helping out. Thank you. Brick Lane Brewing, based and brewed in Melbourne, Australia. Great city, great beer. Thank you, Brick Lane Brewing, for being part of the Final Word, and thank you for listening. That's enough from me. Now, Adam Collins, Jeff Lemon, and the Final Word.
I had to go about it, write it out, and find it myself. And there's some stories I can tell you.
This is the Final Word Daily, the England-India Test Series, the third test from Headingley, the third day. I'm Jeff Lemon, the other one's Adam Collins. The first thing we do on this show is one of us has to tell you everything that happened in a whole day of Test cricket in the space of 30 seconds. Adam, go.
India did what they needed to do at the start, took two quick wickets. Their deficit was 354 going into the second innings. And they gave England a day in the dirt, a bit of their own medicine from yesterday. A half-century for Rohit Sharma before he was given out leg before, just nipping the edge of the leg stump. And then Kohli got some runs at the end alongside Cheteshwar Pujara, who batted beautifully. 91 not out at the close of play. India 2-1-5 for 2. They trail by 139. Maybe, just maybe, they can dare to dream. Who's to know?
I want to start this show today by talking about Cheteshwar Pujara because there are people, I'm not going to name names. There are too many names to name. There are people, some of them even comment on this channel, who say things like, Pujara, he's got to go. He's done for. He's too old. He sucks. He doesn't know how to score runs anymore. I want to say to these people, do you have eyes? Do you use them to watch the cricket? Or do you just look at photos of yourself while the cricket's on in the background and then talk to your own egos? Cheteshwar Pujara, forget about the career, forget about the 1800s, forget about 14,000 deliveries faced in Test cricket. Let's just talk about 2021. This year, India do not draw the Test at Sydney without Pujara batting through half of the last day. They don't win in Brisbane without Pujara doing the same thing, taking the bouncer onslaught, taking the hits. Pujara, being Pujara, lets Rishabh Pant be Rishabh Pant. They don't win at Lords without Pujara. He only made 45, but it was a 100 partnership. It wore out England's bowlers. It got them frustrated, and it got India about 150 ahead, which may have been enough to win that game in the end. Pujara helps create Test victories, and if you don't see that, you don't know a lot about the game. Let's talk about Pujara today. He looked the best he's looked for a while. Yeah, he's been battling, but he's still been getting results at times when it mattered. He didn't make many runs in India when England toured, but he didn't need to. They were bowling out England for 24 or whatever it was. Akshar Patel was taking 1 million wickets. When there's trouble, Pujara very often steps up. And today he got to get going a bit faster than usual. He got 3 boundaries in his first 13 balls. He was leaving outside the off stump, but they were bowling at his legs often enough, and he was clipping that ball away, and then he started to get into the rhythm of things, started to play the cut shot, started to play through cover, and even took on the pull shot a couple of times. Pujara looked the best that he's looked in a long time, but that does not mean that he shouldn't have been in the team up until this point. And if you think otherwise, you don't know anything about cricket. I'm going to call it there.
Oh, bravo, bravo. That is magnificent. Supportive statement in favour of Pujara. I could only say that I support the statement of the previous speaker. Absolutely bang on the money. You are right. Pujara lays the foundation. Pujara is an enabler. And today he played a different kind of role as well. Look, our colleague and friend Bharat Sundaresan made the point that Pujara sometimes can look best when their back is against the wall. And of course that's what it was. 354 in arrears. And sure, they had a dreadful day on day one, and Pujara was part of that. But he walked out today, an early wicket, KL Rahul, outside edge just before lunch, and once again, all focus, all eyes are on Pujara. If he gets a first bowler, it's entirely possible the conversation might move to moving him on for the final 2 Test matches. As ridiculous as that would be, based on what you said before, but purely based on, weight of opinion, I suppose, about the anchor that he could sometimes be to other players in the team, you could erroneously arrive at the conclusion that holds India back. I take the same view as you. You need Pujara there to balance out the rest. And the way that he looked to transfer pressure back onto the bowling today, those 3 clips through mid-wicket to get rolling, lovely cricket. Even a couple of expansive cover drives. It's not as though he doesn't have those shots in the locker. He elects not to play them in order to offer the greater good. It's in the service of the greater good. Now today, him playing shots was part of it. It was all about trying to erode that deficit. Last week it wasn't. Last week it was about trying to drag it out as deep as possible to give them options on day 5, maybe look for a draw, but it wasn't the day for him to play expansively. Today, he was liberated to do more of that. We said last night that it was about marginal gains, about trying to make England have a long day in the field and bowl again on day 4. Well, he's guaranteed that. Not only is he assured that, and in the process, England still need 8 wickets to take. Not only do they need to warm up and bowl again tomorrow, they've got a lot of work to do. That will be an innings and a contribution that will inform what happens next week at the Oval, and maybe the week after that at Manchester, with back-to-back-to-back test matches to finish the series. So kudos to Cheteshwar Pujara, and likewise to Virat Kohli, getting the chance to walk in and have a glorified net in the last couple of hours. Sure, a bit of pressure when Rohit Sharma gets out, but towards the end with the spinners bowling with the old ball because of bad light, Kohli was able to play himself in. That also will be important when we turn to next week. So look, they're barely a chance to win this test. Let's be realistic. However, they are some chance, and they are still very much in this series, in no small part due to Pujara, and now Kohli's in there as well. A really important day for India.
Fascinated how the day panned out. So England absolutely bossing the first 2 days, as we talked about in our daily shows there. But we mentioned last night that the way that India still, a lot of the players still looked cheerful. They still looked up for the contest, even as they were having a pretty ordinary first couple of days, to put it mildly. Towards the end of day 2, they were still up for it. What I've really loved about this series has been the way that India's openers have gone about it. Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, everybody thinks of them as smashing the ball around in the IPL. They've played beautifully as opening bats in England. Rohit Sharma particularly, he's the MVP of the series batting-wise for me. He hasn't made 100, but he's made 50s when it's counted. He's 83 at Lords. He's 59 here today, just as important. Even KL Rahul, who batted through most of the first session. So there were a few things there. One, as you mentioned off the top, that India didn't let the tail of England drag out. They knocked them over in 15 minutes and got batting straight away. 2, KL takes them through to lunch, even though he didn't make many runs, at least got through that first session. Rohit Sharma and Pujara then bat through the entire second session. No wicket for England in that session, and they bowled really well. Robinson bowled really well. Craig Overton bowled really well. They challenged the outside edge. They challenged the pad. They decked the ball around. Pujara was leaving on length a lot of the time, which is bold in England, but he had the ball whistling over the top of the stumps and didn't seem perturbed by it. But the way Rohit Sharma played, the way he left the ball alone beautifully up until coming back after the tea break, until finally one snuck in and struck him just in line, would have been just shaving the leg stump. He was given out on the field, and so the review didn't save him. But that allowed Kohli to come in with Pujara well set, and I thought it was really important that in the first few overs that Kohli was out there, he faced 3 deliveries in 3 or 4 overs because Pujara soaked up most of the strike. Let Kohli have 10-15 minutes out there before having to face many deliveries. In that time, Pujara brings up his 50 with a pull shot, if you don't mind. Doesn't play a lot of those, but he did play a couple and cracked them today. Hit one straight to the field and hit one for 4. And I think that, that would have at least given Kohli the comfort of thinking the guy up the other end is well set and going nicely. I don't have to do it all from the start. And Kohli was able to get himself in as well and then bat through to the end of the day.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It was good game management. Again, all about Pujara, isn't it? He realised that Kohli, under pressure as well, just needed to feel his way into it, and he gave him that opportunity, as you say, by absorbing a lot of the strike. No surprise that Anderson was brought straight back when Kohli walked in. I mean, they were gearing up for that showdown, and Pujara didn't really give them that opportunity. I agree with Rohit as well. I mean, he's been outstanding through the year, really. The fact that he hasn't reached 3 figures in Australia or England doesn't diminish his contribution. I think that he's turning himself into a really dependable opener. And yeah, there was a little bit of luck. He could have been out-legged before had Joe Root made the tee sign, a fraction of a second earlier from Robinson in the middle session. I don't know whether it would have hit the bat on the way through with Snicko, but what we do know is that he was at least a little bit lucky that Root didn't get a chance to review. Luck went against him the second time. Umpire's call upheld by an absolute margin of a centimetre, I suppose, on that. So And that's cricket. That's the modern game. But he laid the foundation. It meant that when Kohli was walking out, it wasn't at 20 for 2. It was 116 for 2. Much as it was yesterday when Milan walked out, I think at 135 without loss. You know, players who are trying to find their way, runs on the board is a wonderful pressure release, and that's what it was for Kohli today. The ball was getting old. And look, as you are dead right in saying, that middle session was hard, tough, well-fought cricket. That's why Moeen Ali bowled so little until the final session, because the ball was still seaming around. I thought Craig Overton was the pick of the bowlers. Got the first wicket, but he really did threaten both edges, bowled at decent pace. I think he's enhanced his reputation. Also made 32 with the bat, which isn't for nothing. He throws himself around in the field. He's got a good pair of hands in the slips. He's a good all-round package, Craig Overton, and I think that even though Anderson wasn't absolutely at his best, especially after lunch when they swung him around to the Kirkstall Lane end, which was surprising given he's done all his best work from the football stand in from 2016 onwards, and it was certainly the case on day one. And look, India played that well, especially Pujara. He was able to get off the mark against his old nemesis Anderson, and away he goes. I suppose you can ask the question, on a day like today, where's Jack Leach been, who got out Pujara 4 times consecutively in India earlier this year, and the ball moving away from Pujara rather than moving back towards him. But that's a futile argument now that Jack Leach is out of the squad. But yeah, the day in the dirt, the difference between the day in the dirt yesterday and today was that India still found a way to take 8 wickets. They did it tough. They conceded 303 runs, but they still took 8 wickets, which meant that they came back today, polished it off with the second new ball. Well, wasn't quite new anymore, but you know what I'm trying to say. They gave themselves a quick burst off the top with Shami and Bumrah, I think it was, and away they go. They can put their feet up. England have their day in the dirt, and they have one of those days where it doesn't go their way, and they only pick up 2 wickets. So they return tomorrow, only protecting 139, and they'll go to bed. And look, if you're the England top order, it'll be impossible for them not to think, gee, I wouldn't want to chase 120. Oh, gosh, after having a lead that big, oh dear. It's only natural.
Well,
only natural they'll have those thoughts.
Let's think about that for a second. There's a lot of people the last couple of days have been asking where the bird was. The bird's here because India had a good day. But the fact that they enjoyed today, that doesn't change the fact that, statistically speaking, if I were to guess what is likely to happen in this test match, India should still lose this test by an innings.
Yep.
It'll be a new ball tomorrow. They could lose a wicket early. Another one goes quickly. You know,
Long tail.
Rishabh and Rahane can make 30 or 40 each, and it still won't matter because the tail comes into play. They get knocked over quickly, and India's done by an innings. That is the likely result. But if you dare to dream, Headingley is a ground where you can dare to dream. The deficit 139, as you said. What if Kohli and Pujara knock it off? What if they get things to parity? And then what if, say, Rahane Pant Jadeja can get 120 in front, 150 in front, coming into day 5, the pitch starting to wear a bit, getting a bit less regular, maybe the bowling conditions are good. It's not beyond the realms of possibility, and that's entirely due to the work that Pujara on 91 not out and Kohli 45 not out have created over those last couple of sessions. They've made the possibility, they've made the chance possible, and that chance can evaporate in 5 minutes in the morning. But the fact that overnight Indian supporters, after the first couple of days, can think that there is a possibility of a way back into this match, even that is significant going forward.
Yeah, beauty of Test cricket, that you're not out of it till you're completely out of it, and you have to earn your way back in. And I think that's the important point here. They earned their way to a situation where their head hits the pillow tonight, and they can think about Kohli and Pujara, both raising centuries and knocking off the deficit. You're right. In all probability, they lose this Test match still. But as we said last night, it's not just about the next 2 days. It's about the 2 Test matches. Back to the Oval, then up to Old Trafford. Regardless of the scoreline at the end of this Test, at the end of this weekend, India will go into the next Test match being able to reflect on today and know that their batting isn't cooked in the slightest. They can bat in tough conditions with the ball moving around. They can confront Anderson and co. They can do this. So an important building block in the broader series outcome.
I'm not going to give you any prizes for guessing who my player of the day is on the 3rd day of this particular match.
No, I don't need a second guess. I know it's going to be Cheteshwar Pujara. I would just say that in terms of podium, I'd have Craig Overton in there just to lay a marker that I think maybe 3 months ago. And again, I hate to bring it back to the Ashes, and look, this might sound boorish as an Australian to do this, but we were thinking end of the year, England will go to Australia, they'll have Wood, and Stone and Archer, the veterans of Broad and Anderson, and probably Chris Wokes in the mixer too. They're the 6 fast bowlers, and maybe one of Robinson and Overton. Well, I think now Robinson's on the plane. Obviously, Archer's out. Stone's probably out. Broad's got a serious calf tear. And I think Overton is on that plane. I think he's earned that opportunity at domestic level over the last couple of years, improving his game. He showed he's an all-round package, as I mentioned before. He can bat. He does bolster that lower order. Got a great pair of hands in the slips where England have struggled in the last couple of years. He's quicker now, and he bowls a genuine outswinger. He's not just the sort of hit-the-track kind of bowler that he was in 17-18 when he came to Australia last time. He's more than that again. So a bit of a watch this space for Craig Overton. Well bowled today.
Hall of Fame nomination, a beautiful one late for me. If you were going to visualise a passage of play, imagine a passage of play where the square leg umpire has to duck for their life.
This was mine as well.
Against a particular batting player. Who would you imagine that batsman to be? Would it be Rohit Sharma? Would it be Rishabh Pant? Would it be Ravindra Jadeja? No. Cheteshwar Pujara getting a short ball off the spinner and absolutely caning it through square leg. And umpire Dick Kettleborough had to drop, stop and roll. It was sort of 1960s nuclear war public safety announcement kind of UK stuff. He just had to get out of the way, and luckily, he's big on the jogging and the fitness and whatnot. Umpire Kettlebells, stays ripped and had the reflexes to get out of the way. Some former umpires knocking around in the UK would probably have been carted off horizontal by the end of the day.
Yeah, if it was, bless him, Ray Erasmus, he might have been in a bit of strife, although he's a fraction shorter than Big Dick Kettleborough. So, he did well there. That was going to be my nomination as well. Anti-Hall of Fame, Jeff, Javo 69. I just got to say here that, I don't want to moralise.
For a second bite, champion.
Yeah, I don't want to moralise. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but there's been way too much of this in English cricket this year. Maybe it's something to do with the fines. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a bunch of posh, pissed blokes running around. I'm not sure. Whatever it is, stop it. It doesn't add to the game. And the souffle definitely does not rise twice on that one.
I think that it's because the fines aren't confusing enough. Because when you go to the WACA, for instance, or the GABA, and they say you'll be fined $12,461,
makes you think about it. It makes you think about it. It makes you pay attention. You're like, and then you start trying to figure out what you could buy with that. You're like, okay, well, $12,000 on a jet ski, but then what's the $451 going to be for? You start playing the Price is Right. Where does it all fit in the championship? Well, yeah, I completely agree. The fine.
Three times 17 is 51, so maybe that's 3 6-packs of Cooper's Pale Ale. But you've got to get closest to the pin without going over. And by the time you've thought about it for that long, the moment's passed and you want to do something else. Yeah, if you're in England, is it like an English parking fine? Is it like, that'll be 20 quid, please, governor? Some bobby comes down and wags her finger at you. It's not going to work.
Now, by that point, you're thinking about Larry Emder draining all those putts on the Price is Right. It's game over. Mm-hmm. Speaking of game over, that should be it for the Final Word Daily today. Thanks to everybody for listening, as always. We love all the feedback in the comments on YouTube, all the new subscribers we picked up along the way, everybody who's listening in the podcast feed and sharing it around on social media. It is very much appreciated. If you like what Jeff and I do...
Adam, one really important thing. Okay. Jimmy Anderson's up to 629 Test wickets. Our patron page has 629 patrons on it.
Oh.
Help us beat Jimmy. We've got to beat Jimmy. He might take more wickets tomorrow. Jump on there. Help us out.
We need a buffer. We need to make sure we're a good few ahead of Jimmy Anderson. So if you're watching the program, if you listen to our other shows, Storytime's out at the moment, our cricket history gallop, which a lot of people have found yesterday through Jeff's mega thread on the year that Joe Root's having, or our weekly show this week. We spoke to Mal Khan about the Justin Langer situation. We spoke to Shadi Khan Saif, who just left Kabul in a dreadful situation over there with Afghanistan cricket. So we do a lot of other work other than the Daily Show on YouTube. If you like that, support us on Patreon, patreon.com/The Final Word, and that's enough from us. Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon, Final Word Daily. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
You know what I meant here? I had to go about it, write it out and find it myself. And there's some stories I can tell you. I had to fail, had to fall just for what I did well. And there's some stories I can tell you.
Acast recommends more podcasts, more episodes, more great shows. Keep listening to hear a new show we recommend.
In a home in the suburbs, a boy dreamed of saving all the poor children of the world. He built a charity that attracted the world's top celebrities.
Hey, I'm Justin Bieber, and this is We Did.
This has become your life's work.
But behind the scenes,
things started popping up.
Allegations about corruption, blackmail.
This is the story of a charity that did well when it was supposed to be doing good. The White Saviors, a Canadaland original podcast.
Acast recommends.
Thanks for listening to the Final Word Cricket Podcast. All of Adam and Jeff's previous episodes are available at finalwordcricket.com, including their most popular episode of the last 12 months, The Final Word with Marcus Stoinis. If you're new to The Final Word, I suggest you check it out. If you've been around for a while, but you missed it, you should also track it down. And if you heard it when it first came out, you were quietly nodding and thinking, yes, that was a special chat. FinalWordCricket.com for all things Final Word. And thanks again to our friends at Brick Lane Brewing. Shop online at BrickLaneBrewing.com. Thanks for listening. More from Adam and Jeff real soon.